Think insurance is boring? Think again. Many experts say that insurance is the most powerful industry on the planet. So join us and discover why the QUOTERSCAST is making insurance super cool. Let me do a little intro for you, Allan. You can see how well I did, and see if I got anything wrong, and we'll go from there. So,
Okay, perfect.
All right. So this is Allan Khazak, and you are the founder of VroomMediaGroup that you started in 2019, and you were born to an immigrant family in Canada, and you're also a graduate of Schulich School of Business at York University in Toronto. You've been interviewed all over the place, Allan. Super impressive. Yahoo Finance and Thrive Global. So in just a few short years, you have really made an impact. So tell me more about that and about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, like how far back should I go? All the way to high school?
I know. No, let's see. Let's start. You've got something interesting on your website. You started this because you were helping your uncle, and maybe you can start there and how you worked your way into helping licensed insurance agents market and sell annuities, because that's really like it's hyper niche, and that's what you do. And I think it's fascinating because you're helping a lot of people. I'm a licensed agent, so I know how difficult this is, and I'd like to use your service. So please, tell us how you got into on this path.
Yeah, so I started initially in my career in public accounting. I got my license CPA. Basically, I come from an Eastern European family, and they always wanted me to, be a professional. They really believed in education. So I wanted to, so in college, I wanted I thought I wanted to be one of these professional jobs, like an accountant or a lawyer. Actually, those were the two career paths I was considering. And my father's actually an accountant. So when I graduated from college, I worked really hard in college. I got good grades. I spent a lot of time networking, and I was very fortunate. I got a job at like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. And fairly early on, I realized I didn't like the corporate world. It wasn't where I saw myself long term. I mean, I worked with great people, but I knew I was not going to be there very long. And then after a couple of years, I moved on, and I actually joined like a local startup, and they basically sold tutoring services for kids in math, English, science, those type of topics. And as I joined that company, I realized that if we wanted to grow, we really had to grow online, and that was the name of the game, right? And this was over 5 years ago, and that was kind of my MBA or a boot camp in online advertising. So I kind of, when I joined that business, I took as much time as possible to absorb as much information as possible. And then as we started testing new advertising channels, we started kind of dialing in and allocating more of our ad budget. And the business owner was reinvesting really heavily back into the business, and that allowed us to grow, right? Because once we knew our numbers, how much it cost us to acquire a customer, how many customers we were able to acquire, we were just doubling down on that, and the business grew really rapidly. So that really became like my MBA in online advertising, right? And then one thing led to another. After that experience, I did some freelance consulting work. My uncle works in the insurance business, did some consulting work for him. Then I picked up more clients in the insurance industry, and one thing led to another, and I kind of I got an annuity client. I saw how well they were doing. It really opened my eyes, and then I really realized that you really have to niche down, because the person in this world who tries to be the master of everything is really the master in nothing, right? So for me, I realized I had to absolutely niche down, really niche down on annuities, and then we started bringing on more and more clients, and that was kind of the start really of my journey, right? I mean, I hope that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I love that you gave us sort of a lead up, and so that people can see the step by step and the progression that you made, and it all sort of makes sense. And what I wanted to ask you, I remember many years ago, at least 20 or 30 years ago, I was briefly part of a company that really was pushing buy term insurance and invest the difference in mutual funds. And
Okay.
that's been the mantra for a while, right? And I do
Yeah.
remember them saying that annuities were not a good investment. And even to this day, that philosophy seems to have penetrated pretty deeply in the financial industry. So I'm curious how you handle that.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I talk about this a lot with current clients, even prospects, right? Unfortunately, annuities get a really bad reputation. There is a lot of negative publicity, right?
Yep,
There's other finance celebrities like Dave Ramsey who tends to trash talk annuities.
yep,
There's also companies like Fisher Investments. They also trash talk annuities. The reality is the annuity products of 20 years ago are not the products of today, right? It's like a the cars of 20 years ago are not the cars of today. Now we have electric cars. We have they're working on self-driving cars. Everything changes, right? And
right.
as the market becomes more sophisticated, the products have to become more sophisticated in every single industry to keep up with the trends, right? There's a lot more fixed index annuity products that are available. Most of the marketing we do is actually for fixed index annuity products, right? I think a lot of times the variable annuities of the I don't want to say old days, but of 20, 30 years ago, of the past, right? That's the
Mhm.
better way of putting it.
Right.
Are no longer the products of today. And I think when it comes to marketing in particular, a lot of people are brainwashed by the media, right? They read articles, they Google annuities, they get a really bad reputation. It's naturally gonna happen, but it's very important for anyone, whether they're actually talking to a potential client as an agent or they're already exploring, right? Like marketing, it's important to actually educate people on how the
Yeah.
annuity products of today are very different than those of the past, because that's going to help agents become a lot more successful, not just in providing value to their clients, but also in earning people's business. Because when you give people a lot of value, they naturally trust you a lot more and want to work with you.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And for those people, like a lot of insurance products, as well as annuities, are fairly complex. And so, for people who are not familiar with it, or perhaps newer agents, can you explain the difference between what would be a so-called old annuity from 20 or 30 years ago, and how it's structured nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is the fixed indexed annuities, right? They're kind of they limit people's debt downside, and they really give them the opportunity to participate in overall market upside and different like trends, right? So with what's going on right now, with the stock market volatility, the uncertainty, people want to mitigate their risk, mitigate their exposure, right? And in any person's retirement portfolio, no matter how big or small, you want to have a portion that's allocated to save money, because you never know how the market is going to perform, and the market averages out over time, right? With that being said, in the last 2 3 years, it was overall a very strong market, and until maybe 6 or 12 months ago, right? Like overall during the pandemic, the stock market did better than ever before. And naturally, when things are really good, there's going to be a correction, right?
Right.
So and a lot of times when it even comes to these potential clients, people in there who are 63, 64, they can't afford to lose 20 or 30% in their retirement portfolio because they just don't have that runway, right?
Right.
So a lot of these products, they give people that protection and that insulation. And I'm not saying they need to put all their money in an annuity, because
Right.
they might need to tie up that money for 5 or 10 years or whatever that time period is. But at the same time, the real benefit is that they're actually going to protect their money. And a lot of times, if people have 3, 5, 700,000 set aside for retirement. They don't need that money right now. They're still working their job for another 2, 3, 5 years. So, a lot of times those annuities and the big contrast is, oh, I'm going to tie up my money. But if you don't need the money for another 5 years, because you're only going to retire in 5 years, you're way better off putting it there, because you're going to get protection. You're going to get growth. You're going to mitigate the downside. So, I mean, I hope that really kind of gives you some perspective.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's great. And now let's get into exactly what you do with Vroom Media, because you seem to have really nailed the pain points for insurance agents, like the endless prospecting and trying to get people into that pipeline so that you have opportunities to continue to speak to someone, because this is not an impulse buy, these type of products. So take us through the process. If somebody as an insurance agent gets into your pipeline, how does that work for them?
How does that work if they choose to work with us?
Yes.
Yeah, so what we do, we really focus on fixed indexed annuity marketing. Like I kind of mentioned, I'm not a big fan personally of the variable annuity products. But with that being said, what we do is we do online advertising, typically through paid social channels, for our clients. So what the reality is, right? Every agent needs more leads. They need more appointments. They need more conversations, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just a numbers game, right? And some people may not want to look at it that way, but in any type of sales role, like it is in insurance, it's really important to have a full pipeline. Not only is it good for you mentally, it's good for you emotionally and financially. Because if you have one person in your pipeline and that person doesn't do business with you, you're going to be a lot more desperate. And energy is very contagious, right? So what I'm a firm believer in, you need to build up a pipeline where you're getting clients from as many channels as possible, right? And a lot of agents actually struggle with the online side, right? A lot of times I talk to agents, they're doing dinner workshops, they're doing radio shows, they've been published in a book, they've been published online in different publications, and these are all great channels. And all marketing is every marketing channel works in conjunction. So what we really do is, our niche is more online based, right? So what we do, and a lot of times I find that a lot of agents, they actually not only struggle in front of getting in front of new people, which is where we come in, but they also struggle to get in front of their existing customers and keep reminding them. Because if you can really build a long-term relationship with your clients, they're going to send you more referrals, they're going to do more business with you, they're going to trust you more. It's only going to create a win-win, right? And at the end of the day, right? So I think a lot of times they struggle with getting in front of their current customers, but they also struggle in front of getting in front of new people who they've never met, spoken to before. And that's really where we come in. We run ads targeting people who do not know, like, or trust these agents. We help them get in front of them. And like I mentioned, I'm a big believer in education when it comes to both annuity sales and annuity marketing. So that's kind of an element that we want to integrate into our marketing, because at the end of the day, people don't have misconceptions. They have cognitive biases about annuities, and we want to make sure in our marketing we're addressing a lot of those points. I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, that's excellent. So it sounds to me like you might help agents maybe create webinars and email lists, newsletters. Is that the kind of thing that you do?
We don't really do webinars.
Okay.
We've tried webinars. They haven't been as effective. What we do is just mostly paid ads. We take people through what we call as a funnel, which really a funnel is a series of steps that you want to take people through to get to their desired outcome. So we want to take them through a series of hoops and hurdles. The reason being is, the more hoops and hurdles people go through, naturally, the more qualified or receptive they are to a conversation, right? And a lot of times I'll talk to agents, and in the marketing, they're giving people a free guide, a free report, promising people the moon. Naturally, that attracts a lot of tire kickers, price shoppers, all of that. So we want to avoid all of that, because we only want to work or help agents work with more serious folks. That's why in our funnels, we want to make sure they're robust enough to really weed out a big chunk of those people, because I'm sure you get it. No marketing process is perfect, but at the end of the day, like, time is the most valuable asset for a lot lot of agents, and we want to make sure that they're using their time wisely so that they can be as effective and as profitable as possible.
Well, that's excellent, Alan. And I want to dig down a little more on the specifics, because a lot of what you mentioned, I mean, I've had my own websites for a while, although I'm a fairly new agent. And so I'm trying to sort of transition my digital skills into attracting clients for insurance. But it sounds to me like you might be doing something a little bit different and more cutting edge. And can you sort of drill down a little bit more with that, so we can because a lot of what you mentioned, people are thinking, well, yeah, I do that. What else? Now it's not working. What else can I do online?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot people can do, right? I'm a firm believer that if you look at marketing as one-sided, you're looking at it wrong. Like you really, the more marketing channels you have, the less dependent is your business on any one channel, and it's only going to help, right? So,
Right.
like in terms of what we do is very specific in terms of running ads, getting in front of a new type of demographic. If a new agent or even an established agent is doing some type of advertising and it's not working for them, I always tell people, what is the root cause of the problem, right?
Right.
And there's two things. Either they're not getting enough appointments, right?
Right.
And I always believe a good benchmark is if you're not converting 20% of your initial first appointments into clients, there's probably some type of breakdown in the sales process, right? So if someone's only getting 5 people on the calendar every month, and they can convert at 20%, which is an average rate that people should strive for, then they're not actually getting enough at bats, because you should be doing. I talk to agents that get 5 appointments a day. I talk to agents that get 10 appointments a day all the time, right? So if they're only getting 5 appointments a month and they want to beat their head and say this marketing channel isn't working, you need to double down more on that channel. And if you can't, you need to look at other channels, right? And that's why in any successful agent's marketing arsenal, they do have multiple prospecting channels, right? Now, with that being said, right, the other challenge that agents have is maybe they're getting 50 appointments a month, right? Which is a big sample size. It's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
but they're only converting 2 out of those 50. So in those instances, a lot of people need to set their ego aside, because unfortunately, a lot of people in this industry have really big egos, and the egos are very toxic. They need to set their ego aside and debug their sales process, whether that's seeking help from an external third party. But like at that point, getting another 50 appointments to make 4 sales is not worth it, because they're not even if they were converting their current people at 10%, they would already be getting 5 new clients a month, right? And I also believe, on top of that, a lot of people have very short-sighted time horizons, right? Plenty of our clients are maybe getting someone in for an annuity, or maybe getting them in for other products like IULs, term insurance,
Yeah.
building that trust, because I'm a firm believer that the more people buy from you because they know you, they like you, and they trust you. And when it comes to annuities, they're higher ticket items. Naturally, the skepticism is going to be high. And this is just across the board, right? Whether you like it or not, unless you've been featured on a number of radio shows and you have credentials that 99.9% of agents do not yet have. The reality is you need to really work hard to earn people's trust. That's why they're going to work with you, right? So the best way to earn trust is do some smaller business with them. Give them value, right? So sometimes if you're like one of our clients, he's absolutely crushing it on the annuity front. But not only that, he's been able to help people get into IULs, get into final expense, term, all these products, because he's able to uncover those opportunities by asking the right questions. So even if there is not an opportunity for annuities, a lot of agents are just looking for that one thing. They're looking for that quick buck, and they just want to earn that business right away. And but the more you can lengthen your time horizon, the more successful you will be, because you're really able to build relationships with people. You're really able to give them value. You're going to get a lot more referrals down the road, because people are enjoying the experience that they're getting with you. So I think these are all things that I think agents will really need to look at, and a lot of them oversee, if that makes sense.
That's excellent. That's a great explanation. And, I noticed on your website, and I think you're doing something that most other sort of lead gen type of sites for insurance are not doing. You have a button specifically that says claim your area. And that's something that insurance agents, when they buy leads, they're wondering how many times these names have been sold. And I think you're doing something very clever. So can you sort of take us through that on how you sort of control that and keep, so that it doesn't get flooded and agents get these watered down leads?
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
When it comes to this industry, one problem is shared leads, right?
Yeah.
That it's one of the biggest problems, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed this, right? Because a lot of these companies, they're going to send the same lead to 3, 5, 7 agents, and at that point, when multiple people are competing for the same client, it's a race to the bottom because they're going to go with the person who gives them the best sounding product that's actually the worst for them. It's the reality because a lot of people, they think very short term, right? A lot of people want what sounds the best, and it's actually usually the worst. You know, like the only place you find free cheese is in a mouse trap at the end of the day. So it's just the reality, right? So and what a lot of these platforms companies do is they'll have one website. When people submit an application on that website, they then send it to 3 or 5 people. So we actually set up custom funnels for every single one of our clients. So we're running them from completely different websites, completely different markets, right? In order to maintain exclusivity for our clients, which is what's allowed our clients to actually do very well, and lead to a lot of referrals even from our clients coming to us, is
Right.
because we're actually we want to provide that good experience, right? And that by having custom funnels for everyone, and marketing in different markets for everyone, maintaining that exclusivity, we've really been able to kind of maintain that exclusivity for our clients.
Wow, that's outstanding. That's really excellent. I love that. So it sounds like you've got a very good system in place. And so now it makes me think this might be exceptionally pricey. So how does your pricing work for individual agents?
Yeah, we typically work with only established agents. Sometimes occasionally we'll bring on a newer agent,
Okay.
but most of our clients understand. I mean, annuities pay very handsomely, right?
Yep.
Our average clients are writing cases in the 1 to 500,000 range, and the typical comp, I'm sure you know, is usually 5 to 8%, right? I
Yep.
always look at my marketing as an investment, never an expense, and that's what every intelligent business owner does as well, right? So,
Right.
in terms of our pricing, we don't have plans where someone can only get like 2 or 3 or 5 leads a month. We want to work with people that are very serious about spearheading their growth, that are already consistently writing, whether it's 2, 5, 10 million in annuity business a year, right? So
Right.
they've already got their sales processes dialed in. In terms of pricing, we have different tiers, right? Our pricing starts anywhere from 3,500 a month, and it can go up all the way to over 10 grand a month. Just depends on the type of volume. We do tend to see a fairly large percentage of our clients actually want to upgrade their plans. Like just yesterday, I got reached out by a fairly new client already wanting to upgrade his tier. And I tell people, start small, and then you can expand there. Get your first couple cases around your belt, get your feet wet. And the reality is, with marketing, it only gets better over time, because the more and more you do, the more practice you get, the more you're able to hone in on your sales processes, make them better. And that's actually another thing that we help agents with. So not only do we get them leads, we actually help them with weekly sales training calls, so that they're getting a lot more value from working with us, because they're able to convert their leads at a higher rate. They're way more profitable working with us if they're actually putting in the work, and they're able to utilize a lot of these tactics for some of the other marketing they're doing as well, right? Because it's all the same. You should have a fairly consistent sales process.
Oh, that's excellent. So do you ever work with smaller independent agencies and not just individual agents?
We have all kinds of clients, people with all sorts of marketing budgets. We do work with some agencies. We work with some clients. It really varies, right? So for us, it's about bringing on the right type of clients. I think the people who do well with us have a good positive attitude. They understand it's a process.
Right.
They're willing to put in the work. The people I hate working with are people with big egos who think they know it all, think the whole world revolves around them,
Right.
and so sometimes I'll hop on calls with potential clients, and they think they know it all. They think they're the best. They think the whole world revolves around them, and I really hate working with those type of people. They're toxic. They usually don't do well. Their ego gets in their way a lot. Right, and I'm sure they know who they are, but so sometimes they don't. But it's I think the ego can destroy people, and it's very important to remain down to earth. At the end of the day, for us, it's about working with clients that we enjoy working with, but for myself as well as my team. And we're pretty stern in terms of not wanting to work with people who are assholes, who think that they're the best and they're not. And some people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I'm the best closer since sliced bread," and then we would work with them, and then these people were the ones that were actually struggling the most.
Hmm.
And so it's funny, but it's just the reality. I don't hold back. I tell people everything as it is. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. So it makes me think, how does a call like that end when you realize you're dealing with somebody with a big ego? How does it go from there when you want to say, I don't think so? How does that look for Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I make it clear to them. I tell them, I'm like, look, I don't think we should be working together. You're you're
Okay.
you're 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 not kind of seeing things in the way that we are. And it sounds like you know it all. You're already doing so well. I don't think you need more marketing. You should probably just double down on what's already working for you. And a lot of times these people, they don't even want to admit that they're not happy with what they're doing, because they have this really high ego, and they can't fathom mentioning that, oh, I'm not happy with what I'm doing right now, or I'm struggling here. And it's very clear that these people just have this big insecurity that's kind of boosting their ego, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I only have so much time left here, Alan, but you mentioned earlier that energy is contagious and it's part of the sales process. And clearly you have a ton of energy, and I agree with you. Energy is everything. Without energy, nothing gets done. So how do you keep your energy up and going? And what does a day like with Alan look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think your physical health is a reflection of your mind, of your energy. So basically, in the last year, I went through like a big transformation from a health perspective. Like I'm down over just over 50 pounds since last
Oh.
year. I started going to the gym. Usually in the evenings, I'll go to the gym for around an hour and a half. I think that's one thing, getting in physical activity. The next thing is your diet, which has actually really helped me lose weight, is eating right. And I know this is not a conversation about diet, and I'm by no means a health expert. I just know a lot of times when you eat foods like carbs, foods with a lot of sauces, foods with a lot of sugar, food, they make you feel drowsy, tired, give you bad energy. So I think it's very, very important to have a really clean diet, eat good food, healthy food, a lot of protein, those type of things, because they really help. Like I said, a healthy mind, a healthy body is going to lead to a healthy person. So these are very important things.
Excellent. Okay. And just one last question. Where do you go to get your information to stay on the cutting edge of all of this?
A lot of things. I'm part of masterminds. I spend a lot of money going to different events, meeting different people, investing in different courses, education programs. Like I've probably in the last 2 years spent close to maybe 60 grand on different types of education, learning, masterminds. So there's a lot of things, right? And I actually think a lot of agents, they're scared to invest into growth, but that's actually how you grow. That's how you level up, right?
Right.
Investing into different types of masterminds, learning different things. And you know, at the end of the day, this is something I've realized, and it's really fascinating, is most salespeople are doing the same job for 20, 30, 40 years. So they're performing at the exact same level, right? If they can just get 1 or 2% better every single day, week, or even month, that is only going to compound, right? So I think a
Right.
lot of people need to really invest into their education, invest into growth, invest into different types of masterminds to surround themselves with people who are a lot better than them. So my masterminds have tremendously helped me, masterminds, education programs, all of that.
Oh, that's excellent. And just one last question. Who's your favorite? Who has given you the best tips?
I don't have a favorite. And it's not the answer you wanted. I
That's
think there's
okay.
different tips for everything, right? There's different tips for sales. There's different tips for marketing. There's different tips for building a business, for leading an organization, right? So, you know, and as we grow, I have to become a different person to lead a team. Right now, we're a team of 8. We'll definitely grow a lot more by the end of this year. So it's important to level up in all these areas, right? How to manage a team, how to lead people, how to motivate people internally to work harder, etc.
Uh,
There,
that's
there's a lot of dimensions. It's not one sided.
no, that's great. That's a great answer, Alan. So, well, thank you. I'm gonna have to leave it here, but I would love to revisit this in the future, and I will probably be using your services at some point. You just sound like you provide a lot of value to agents. So, thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you so much for being here and spending time with
Yeah,
me.
thank you for your time. Really enjoyed it. Thank you
Terrific.
so much.
All right, thanks, Alan. Have a great day.